Did you know that Uncharted Drake's Fortune was the first platinum trophy in PlayStation history? Well, in today's video, I'll be getting the platinum for the Uncharted Nathan Drake Collection, which includes the PlayStation classics Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. Most of the trophies in this trilogy are very similar, so I'm not going to get too much into detail on them, but let's begin with stage 1, play all 3 games on crushing difficulty, and my first game was Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Going into this difficulty, I knew it was going to be challenging, especially the final boss. I struggled with him the most, but before we get to that, I received some trophies along the way. After all that, I made it to the final part of the game and it went 0 to 100 real quick. Throughout the game, you're gonna come across these monstrous creatures that look like Caillou off of Perk 30. They're called Descendants and expect to see them at the end because you will get jumped by them a lot. But once you get past that donkey business, you climb up some stairs and jump on the El Dorado, which is strapped to a helicopter. This is a treasure that Nathan Drake was hunting for, but since the main antagonist Navarro is a greedy, desperate son of a he's like, no, it's mine, and he wants to harness the power of the El Dorado. But we jump off before the helicopter crash lands on a nearby boat with Nate's love interest inside, Elena Fisher. She's somehow unconscious, and I don't even know how Navarro survived. And this leads to the final battle between Nate and Navarro. This was the part of the game where I was struggling the most in. He has a shotgun with a red laser on it that can kill you in 1 to 2 shots. There were also a couple enemies that would spawn in as well, so it was hard to focus on one enemy when you have one guy blind firing at you with aimbot. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the cover can break off too. The hell type wood they used to make these crates? Oak? Spruce? Maple? I don't know, man, but the goal of this fight is definitely not to stay in one spot because you will get exposed. So I had a plan. Be patient with your shots and kill every enemy one by one, and switch to different cover spots to prevent exposure. After doing that, I noticed that I started playing a lot better and I started advancing towards the level. Once you finally make it to the end, you start throwing hands with Navarro, and as soon as you defeat him, you get the endgame trophies. Now we're on to the second game, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. This game on crushing definitely takes it up a notch with a new pair of strong enemies called Guardians. And the last boss was way harder than the first one in my opinion. And here are the trophies I got up until that part. Remember, these trophies are very similar, so I'm not going to get too much into detail on them. Now let me tell you about Guardian lore. And no, not Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of Shambhala. They're a group of strong mutated humans that protect the lost city of Shambhala and the Chintamani stone. And in this game, Nathan Drake is on the hunt for the stone, but Guardians and the main antagonist Lazarevich stands in his way. I actually had to fight Lazarevich, who was the final boss, but I'll touch on that later. These enemies right here made my Uncharted 2 experience worse. I'm not gonna lie, this might pass for the hardest part in the whole game. These guys eat every single bullet that you shoot out of an AK, RPG, pistol, sniper. They can even take a grenade. I don't know who's stronger, these guys or a damn tardigrade. Like, these guys can survive the sun exploding. They have crossbows that shoot really quick that can kill you in 2 to 3 shots. They can also charge at you and Hulk smash you in like 1 hit. And they also throw some type of explosive at you. So I really hope you guys are starting to understand why this part is just like painful. But there is a solution to this. Once you finally emptied out a whole magazine into them, you can pick up their crossbow and they die in like 2 hits. Oh, and this isn't the first rodeo. You have to face these guys like 2 more times. Now let's move on to the final boss, Lazarevich. Right after Lazarevich takes a sip from a pool of slurp juice, he gains temporary superhuman abilities. The water gives him strength and vitality, but it comes at a cost. The effects are really unstable and it leads to his rapid deterioration. The goal of this fight is to shoot the blue sap on the trees to hurt Lazarevich and keep moving. He does start running later in the fight, so you have to be very fast and time your shots. I did struggle a lot on this fight because the guy is running at me with a double barrel shotgun that can kill you in 2 hits. But it was straightforward after I started getting the hang of it. Once you finally beat him, you get the endgame trophies. Now on to the final game before the next stage, Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. Just like the first 2 games, I will be skipping some trophies up until the part I struggled the most in. Nate and Sully take a sip out of this fountain that is contaminated with a hallucinogen and they start seeing things. Sully gets shot by Talbot, the main antagonist of the game, and Nate starts seeing flame heads called Djinns. They're literally overpowered demons that only pop up in Nate's hallucination, which doesn't really last that long into the game. Thank you, Naughty Dog, because these enemies are painful. These guys can tell teleport, they can throw fireballs, and they do more damage than the basic enemy. I like the idea of having these types of enemies in the Uncharted games, but why do they have to be so overpowered? But the game shows us sympathy and gives us an RPG and a grenade launcher to fight these guys. Just like the Guardians, it's gonna take more than an assault rifle just to take these guys down. After countless deaths, I finally made it past that excruciating part, received 2 trophies before I went to endgame, and you start scrapping with the game's final boss, Talbot. This fight wasn't hard at all, so once you beat him and finish the game, you get the endgame trophies. Now it's time for stage 2, speedrun trophies. At this point I was feeling burnout, but I was getting very close to the platinum, so I couldn't give up. And obviously I did this in order from 1 to 3, so for the first trophy, These Walls Can't Stop Me, I have to beat chapter 5, The Fortress, in less than 10 minutes. And you can see my time on the top right. This is the most straightforward speedrun out of the 3 in the first game. All you have to do is just climb and kill enemies as fast as possible to get to the end, and you have to be very aggressive. The one thing I like about this is that you can do this on any difficulty, so I put it on easy and it was a breeze. It was a close finish with 16 seconds left on the clock, and I got the trophy. For Up a Short Creek Without a Paddle, I have to beat chapter 12, heading upriver in less than 5 minutes. This one was very easy because you didn't have to shoot enemies in the first half of the level, so all I did was just kept moving forward, shoot the explosive barrels that came my way, and I finished with 26 seconds left on the clock and the trophy pops. For Speedy Reunion, I have to beat chapter 16, The Treasure Vault, in less than 7 minutes. This one is a little complex because there's a lot of climbing, so many obstacles, and you have to go through a wave of enemies in the end. Kinda had trouble on this one, but I was playing on easy and I just played aggressive, and eventually I got my trophy. In Uncharted 2, for the first speedrun trophy, we have Staying Dry, and we have to beat chapter 3, Borneo, in less than 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Just like the first game, you can do this on any difficulty, so I just played on easy and I just ran through this. One thing I like about this is that this chapter wasn't really packed with enemies, so by the time I made it to the end, I got the trophy. For Quick Jaunt Through a War Zone, we have to beat chapter 5, Urban Warfare, in less than 7 minutes and 30 seconds. This one is more of a combat focused one and less of a climbing one, so we really just have to be aggressive and kill everybody as quick as possible. For Bullet Train from Hell, we have to beat chapter 13, Locomotion, in less than 7 minutes. All you have to do is just keep moving forward. My strategy was to run on top of the train cars as much as possible like Subway Surfers and avoid the enemies that are inside the train, and once I made it to the end successfully with this strategy. Moving on to Uncharted 3 speedrun trophies, we have Outrun the Flames. Beat chapter 7, Stay in the Light, in less than 9 minutes and 30 seconds. This chapter is mostly just platforming with a little bit of combat mixed in it, so all I did was just climb as fast as possible and run and gun to the end. For My Horse is Faster, we have to beat chapter 20, Caravan, in less than 15 minutes. This is a very long chapter. For the first part, you're on horseback and you're chasing down a caravan of trucks, and you want to stay on your horse as much as possible. But there are a couple times where you have to get off your horse and destroy the trucks, and also you have to jump off your horse at the end to save Sully. The next part is a large combat area and you're in a sandstorm. This is kind of difficult because you just have to find all of the enemies, but my strategy to beat this was just to be extremely aggressive. And for the third part, you'll find yourself on a large puzzle platforming area. I finished in 12 minutes and 40 seconds and the trophy popped. For Catch That Plane, I have to beat chapter 16, one shot at this, in less than 12 minutes. This is also a long chapter with a lot of combat, so the key here is to just be aggressive, run and gun, and play strategic. But a good thing is that there is plenty of extra time here and you could save as much as 2 to 3 minutes. So if you do these tactics, this will be no problem. And the final stage is stage 3, clean up trophies on all games. I use chapter select to go back and get any missing treasures, farm kills and gun related trophies, and knock out the streak trophies. This is probably my least favorite stage about the platinum because of the amount of grinding you have to do. But once I finished cleaning up any trophies that I missed, I got the platinum across all 3 games. The Uncharted games is one of my favorites and I've been playing them since I was little. It feels so good to go back and platinum the OG trilogy. All 3 games had great platinums with tough moments and I 100% recommend.